So welcome to the Zoom client. Now, some of this you've probably either seen before or probably used by now. So in podcast land, really there's only two things on the screen that we really care about: new meeting and scheduling. So if you're scheduling this in advance, which all good podcasters should, you're going to go ahead and generate a room and a time for everybody to meet you in that room. So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule. And this is when I would actually put my podcast information here. Podcast episode 20, for instance. Episode. I would pick the date and time in my local time that I want everybody to go ahead and call in. And the reason why I point this out is because as podcasters, you may be connecting to people that are in different time zones here in the United States or different time zones around the world. When people receive this, it will convert into their time zone. So for instance, I have a friend and colleague that's going to be connecting with me in GMT time over in the European Union. And when they receive this invite, they'll know what the time is in their local time, which is really helpful. You don't have to worry about kind of doing time shifts in your head. Meeting ID, I typically just leave to auto-generate, and you can require a password if you're worried about people accidentally jumping in. Typically speaking, if you're going directly to a person, I don't find it a must-have, but some people do like that feature. Video off for both host and participants. This just saves you one extra step when you're in the call so that the video cameras don't automatically kick on. Saves you bandwidth, and it kind of is it's just a nice thing to do for when you're setting up a call, to be honest. Now, if you're doing this for a video podcast, you may want to just have both of these kicked on by default, but 9 times out of 10, if you're watching this tutorial, it's probably because you're doing an audio podcast. Now, audio. Now, this is a thing that I need to point out to you. Telephone, computer audio, or joint. What this allows you to do is, by default, telephone and computer audio will be turned on by default, especially in these times where bandwidth might be a premium. If you can't, or your end user, your interviewee, doesn't have access to a computer or their mobile phone's data, this allows for anybody to call in just using their standard minutes on their cell phone. Yes, the audio quality will go down. You kind of get that old school radio phone-in sound, but at least you can get the audio from your end user. Now, typically speaking, most people are going to use computer audio, which means on a Mac or a PC or mobile device, they'll be able to just join into the call. But I like having this extra feature just as a fail-safe, or if you have a person who's a little bit of a technophobic, or if you're trying to connect to somebody and they just don't have access to data, this would be a way to be able to still get that person into the call. And on top of that, their audio will still be recorded no differently than if they were using a computer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule. Before I do, you can select what calendar system you're using, whether it's iCal, Google, Outlook, or whatever. This just puts it on your calendar, and then we'll also send it up into the Zoom's calendar. So it doesn't really matter what option this is. Select it based off of what your needs are. I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule. So now that I've got it scheduled, I can see that it's here on my Zoom recording for today because I'm doing this as a test run. And in this next step, I'm going to show you how to set up Zoom as a recording set for your podcast.